formed in a dream, kept in a thought, carried across oceans, spoken in whispers, passed down from elders, planted in gardens of okra, prayed for in sanctuary, resisted with fury, protected with faith, created with love, born into being, from root to bone. You are here.
This podcast talks about colonial, racial, and gender-based violence. Please listen at your own pace and capacity. And remember to do what you need to do to care for yourself if you feel activated by this content. Should you need resources, please check out our section on resources at decolonizingtherapy.com. Be well. Greetings, my good people. Welcome to From Root to Bone, Season 2. This is the podcast for folks who are parched, poised, and primed, honey, to rehydrate our souls and do some unlearning together. I'm Dr. Jen. Welcome. The goal of this space is truly a place where I get to get into the cracks and invite in my elders, teachers, intellectual crushes, darling, folks doing the real ass work towards reclaiming the juiciest parts of our ancestry, of our history, of our collective wellness, pioneers in our grief and rage work, and individuals that are just simply themselves. This theme for season 2, I'm particularly just like crushing on, and it's going down to the marrow. So if you haven't noticed already, so much of what we're talking about is about getting to the bone marrow of a thing, like really getting up in there. Growing up, my family would suck on the marrow. whether we're eating pork chop or something else, right? Like my mother to this day swears that like sucking on the marrow of it and honoring the animal, if you're vegan, vegetarian, oh, sorry, love you. But really honoring the entire normality of a thing, of an organism, of a being. And my mother would frequently say that the marrow in a bone is where, you suck out the intelligence, where you can be grateful for the reciprocity and really allow yourself to get stronger and healthier. I myself recovering from a pretty nasty cold, and so you might hear a little change in my voice, and that's okay. Hopefully it's huskier. But this season, we're exploring what lives beneath the surface. And if you know anything about me, it is one of the things I love to do. And that's to get to the root of a thing. And so my hope is that you have something warm, that you're comfy. Maybe you're driving along and you decided to tune in. I'm really, really, really excited to get in this with our guest for today. And so before I read you their bio, allow me to say that I am excited. Like little kid, maybe 3 days before their birthday, excited. I have such deep reverence and respect for Lama Rod Owens. I have deep gratitude for the level of clarity, patience, and I'm going to say precision. That is a word that wants to come through, that Lama Rod really provides all that are around him. And I had the absolute honor of attending in the countryside of the UK last early October, Lama Rod's autumn moon retreat, I believe it was called. And I wanted to just show up and be like, I wanted to receive. Jen wanted to receive. Jen wanted to wake up and just be in the space. And I had no idea what to expect. I heard all of these things about being silent. And if anyone knows me, being silent for days on end is not something that's always easy for me. Right. But I'm going to get into this. We're going to get into this when we start talking to Lama Rod. But I loved the breath that Lama and team brought in, the patience, the presence, the consciousness around accessibility and need, the food, honey, the fluffy sheep. I know that folks listening from the UK are probably laughing at me, as a lot of my UK friends were when I was taking pictures of many, many fuzzy sheep along my walks every morning and afternoon. I also was able to meet this beautiful ancient yew tree. So much that I want to get into after the introduction and reading of this fabulous being. So Lama Rod, I hope you receive. So Lama Rod Owens is a Buddhist minister, author, activist, yoga instructor, an authorized Lama or Buddhist teacher in the Kagyu school of Tibetan Buddhism. He is considered one of the leading voices in a new generation of Buddhist teachers and teaches regularly online and around the world. Lama Rod holds a Master of Divinity degree in Buddhist Studies from Harvard Divinity School and is a co-author of Radical Dharma, Talking Race, Love, and Liberation, as well as author of the bestseller, Love and Rage, The Path of Liberation Through Anger, as well as the new saint, From Broken Hearts to Spiritual Warriors, and so much more. So I'm going to read a little bit, a little piece here that really spoke to me. Let me just say, Lama Rod, you put your foot in your writing, so thank you. And it really resonates with me. So what I like to do for my folks coming on, if I'm not finding something online and they have a book, I kind of just open to a place or a space, and this is what it opened to. So this is on page 15 for folks that may want to read along or go back and check it out. The new saint is not a good person. So many of us are obsessed with being good because the performance and pursuit of goodness are tied to many cultural and religious ideas of being a person or human. If we are not good, we are not considered human. If we are not human, we are considered bad, flawed, or invalid, which means that we lose our humanity and become othered. In this otherness, we no longer receive the basic care that good people get. This logic fuels the prison industrial complex. When people break the law, they become bad and as othered and punished without any regard to care because they no longer deserve it. Without care, bad people become the reciprocals of violence masked as justice. We learn that being good is how we maintain our humanity and get the resources we need, especially love. But this politics of goodness is linked to one of the most violent expressions of care, conditional love. Many of us have traded actual goodness for a performance of goodness because we are trying to get the care we need to survive. If being good requires us to perform heteronormativity over our innate and authentic queerness, we do that. If it means pretending to agree with someone because they hold the resources we need, we do that too. For most of my life, goodness was something used to keep me in line. Say it. To be a good boy meant that I adhered to certain etiquettes that have been mostly informed by anti-Blackness, anti-queerness, ableism, class, and capitalism. Being good meant making other people happy through conforming to these etiquettes, which required my silence and complicity in the harm others were causing me. Systems of dominance have co-opted the work of goodness to keep people from disrupting systemic violence. That line was so good, I'm gonna say it again. Systems of dominance have co-opted the work of goodness to keep people from disrupting systemic violence. In this sense, goodness is understood to be an expression of virtue if it does not challenge the power imbalance and does not make the people who benefit the most from the power imbalance uncomfortable. When you are good, you are not causing trouble. Here, I define trouble as creating discomfort for others. ... So this is from, if you're just like listening in, this is from the New Saints, From Broken Hearts to Spiritual Warriors. Beautiful cover as well. I love the colors. And interestingly enough, what I'm bringing to the space in my virtual altar is the green Tara. This is on one of my beloved altars and shells. A sister friend gifted this to me many years ago, many years ago, before I fully understood her extent, her mothering, her love, and her care. And then also these mala beads were gifted to me. And look, Lama Rod, these are amethyst and rose quartz. And I probably don't sit in prayer as much as I need to, but I do hold them in my meditations and dark times. And the card that I pulled, y'all, I know you're not going to believe me. It's green Tara. And it's a message for me. I don't know if it's a message for you or anyone else out there. Start delegating. Ask others, including me, to help you instead of trying to do everything by yourself. Yeah. And that reminds me of some of the convos we've had together too, Lama Rod.
Yeah.
You're getting my life together for me. So I want to welcome you. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I wanted to say something much earlier because you've been saying so many beautiful, uplifting things, and I'm just like, oh, I want to comment on that, and I just
Please do.
And also I want to be like, no, but it's too much. You know, it's so interesting, that reaction. It's like, oh, I don't do anything, right? Like I wrote a book, but I just, it's not a big deal. Like I feel that reaction to being poured into, which is not new, by the way. This is another revelation. Like I tend to hide, right? Because I don't know, I think the work should speak for itself, not my accomplishments, not my resume.
Yes.
Right? But having said that, let me start at the top. I am thrilled to be here. And to just be in this really wonderful conversation. I do really enjoy, just being in conversation on podcasts like this with friends. It's different when I come into podcasts when I don't know people, but when you're with friends, it's like, oh, like we're just geeking, that's all it is. And so
that's
I'm just
all
like,
it is, girl.
Yeah. And so I'm just like really thrilled to be here, to be in this conversation. I'm just, in general, I forget what you asked me at the beginning.
That's okay.
I'm just talking now.
No, I love it. One of the first thoughts I had when you were sharing before, I didn't want to stop you from that very right. That's like, I want the work to speak for itself. I feel like there's something there because as you were saying that, I was like, oh, once again, Rod is looking into my soul. Like,
Right.
It's like, why is it so hard? What is, do you still?
Yeah.
Well, you do. You still struggle with that.
Yeah. To be seen, to be glimpsed. Right. I don't know. I think I was raised to be humble. Right. And I don't come from this kind of mentality or positionality of feeling as if I'm an overachiever or an accomplisher. Like, I just don't, that's just not part of how I think. But when you look at me, you look at what I've done, that's the case. But I separate myself from that because I'm just like, no, I'm just doing the work that I'm called to do. I've always tried to do that. Right. And so that's where I'm situated, is in the work. So when people reflect back to me or pour back into me, I think, oh, like, what are they talking about? I'm just working.
Yes. Yes.
I'm just putting it out there. So I just deeply appreciate it, this pouring in, right? I think this is what we have to do for each other.
Yes.
We have to pour into each other instead of it just like reflecting back all of like the shit to each other, which is so easy to do. Like, how do we create relationships and communities where we're just pouring into each other? And as I get older, as I get into my, eldership, right, I'm really beginning to understand that part of this expression as an elder is to pour into people, is to
Mm.
uplift people,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
In the
Yeah.
same ways we have been uplifted and poured into by elders.
Yes.
And there
Without
I
a
am.
doubt. Yeah. I think about who I might be or what kind of
Mhm.
twisted, even more twisted version,
Mhm.
and I think of all of the folks that allowed a mirror to pop up so that I could see myself reflected in them and
Yeah.
vice versa. Like sometimes we
Yep.
give and receive care
Yep.
at the same time. And I agree with you as I
Mhm.
shift into, turned 47 in July. And I know
Mhm.
it's not about the age, but
Right.
nevertheless, body sometimes feels it.
Yep.
Capacity. What did
Exactly.
I come in here for?
Yep.
I need
Mhm.
readers. I'm
Yep.
like, honey,
Yeah. Yeah, because we're the same age, exactly the same
I didn't
age.
know that. Yes.
You only have like 2 months on me. Yeah.
Okay. Wait. September, baby? No.
September.
Virgo?
Yep.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that same reflection and discernment around aging,
Mm.
you know, it's like, oh, I'm getting older. My body's changing. My relationship to things is changing. Like I'm leaning into the last part of my life, right? The last half, the last part. I don't know. Like, who knows? But I think I have lived longer than I will be alive now,
Mm.
and that hits hard, but
Mm.
there's no grief there necessarily. It's just a recognition,
Yeah.
right? That like, this is what happens.
Mm.
We age, right? And we will die, right? But in that whole process, right? But what's important for me in all of that is that what is the legacy I'm leaving behind? Like, what do I want people to say about me when I leave the room, right? And we've been sitting around, particularly in this country, watching the downfall of a lot of different,
Yeah.
folks, right?
Yeah.
Folks that
Yeah.
like we wish weren't gone,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
folks that we're very happy that are gone,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
uh, and I pay attention to that. And I think, okay, how do I want people to think about me? Do I want people
Mm.
celebrating me because I'm no longer creating harm, right?
Mm.
Or do I want people celebrating me because I did what I could to help, right?
Yes. Yes.
I don't ever want someone to say that the most important thing I ever did was to leave the world.
So real.
Right?
So so I've got to ask you then, like, what do you want? What do you want to be said about you? How do you want us to remember you?
Yeah. I mean, in exactly this language of like, Rod did what he could, he did his best. It wasn't perfect, but he did something. That's all that I care about.
Yeah, word.
I
Yeah.
did what
Yeah.
I could. And if more of us could do what we could do, then this would be a different world,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
We would
Mm-hmm.
be having different conversations,
Yes, we would.
right? Because so many of our conversations are really based and rooted in the struggle to get free, right?
Mm-hmm.
To get free from other people's harm, to get free really from other people's imaginations,
Yes.
you know?
Yes. So real.
And who
Yes.
could we be if we could talk about other things besides the struggle, besides the grief, right? What about the joy? What about the
Mm-hmm.
spaciousness, the fluidity, right? And so, yeah, I mean, and I hope that people understand that I tried to do that. I tried to take us into a place of real joy and real spaciousness and fluidity and openness and real truth, right?
Yeah.
Instead of doing
Yeah.
the opposite, which is
Yeah.
taking us deeper into rigidity and
Yes.
deceit and deeper
Yeah.
suffering,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I know for me that you have been one of the beacons of light in my life through your writing, through your teachings, through the spaces that you have held that have been able to, what is the word? Like recenter me
Yeah.
into the
When,
reminder that I'm more than just my own suffering or my people's
mhm,
histories and sufferings.
yeah,
And even though I know that, right, like intellectually I know that, emotionally I know that, but oftentimes
yeah,
um, I don't think I'm alone here. Go back in that box, right? Go back into that. Um, I'm pissed at this thing, and I have
yeah,
found over the last maybe 2 years, in a deeper way, I'm like, oh, I think I've outgrown some of
yeah,
these structures.
yeah,
I think I've said all the things I needed to say, and maybe previous bodies of work can speak to that,
yes,
perhaps. And like,
mm-hmm,
and there is validity here, and I need more lightness and joy, maybe with the pain and tears, and maybe
exactly,
with right, like I
yeah,
want to play
yeah, yeah.
more.
And why is it so easy for us to fall into the struggle, the discomfort, right? Because I feel like I think about this all the time and I write about it, but like, why am I so comfortable in the suffering,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And why am I even see this in my daily practice, the ways in which I can find myself choosing the discomfort, because when I am connecting to the joy, it really feels like I'm betraying something or someone,
Same.
or I'm not in solidarity. Like, how could I actually experience joy in this moment of systemic collapse where so many people are being deeply impacted in so many different ways?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can I possibly find the joy in this moment? And if I do
Mm.
find the joy, what am I bypassing? Right. And even though, like, I notice that, I also know very well that my practice is much deeper than that. Right. Because sometimes I have to just like kind of jolt myself and shake myself
Mm.
and say, listen, you're Lama Rod. You ever do that? You ever like just like shake yourself and say,
Yes.
I'm Dr. Jen. Fuck this. Like, this is what I've done. This is what I've
Yes.
accomplished. This is
Yes.
the community and field that I am opening through my labor. Like, how dare I succumb to these doubts,
Yes.
these fears,
Mm-hmm.
right? This confidence,
Yeah.
right? I think that's also important, in terms of like liberatory relationships, that we remind ourselves, we reflect each other's confidence back to each other,
Mm.
reminding each other, listen, this is who you are,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So like when I find myself like in that dilemma of like having doubts about joy in this moment of collapse, then I come back to myself and say, no, actually, I am opening to joy, but this joy isn't erasing anything. I'm still here in the struggle, in the body, in community, right? I'm still paying attention. I'm still pushing forward,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yeah. And without that joy, I would dare say, well, at least for me, I become more brittle.
Yes.
Co-
Yes.
I actually become the irony, and I've had
Mm-hmm.
to really sit with this as well.
Yeah.
Maybe cry and screamed and rolled
Yeah.
around on the floor sitting with it.
Mm-hmm.
But in that brittleness, I do the very exact thing that I'm trying not to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I can become more withdrawn, less present, less seeing of possibility, less creation. I'm not
Yeah.
holding as much space,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm not texting someone, hey, thinking about you, what's going on? Like just I'm sort of in the
Mm-hmm.
head. And I
Mm-hmm.
find that I have to be in this and I have to be in this all the time and I have
Yeah.
to feel this as deeply as everybody else is,
Mm.
and that should ties up something in me that I don't really like,
Yeah.
doesn't feel good
Mhm.
to Jen.
Exactly. It's no play, right? And this is something that I've talked a lot about, in other spaces, in terms of like who's leading us, right?
Mm.
Like, and if you call yourself a leader, then there has to be joy in your leadership, right?
Yes.
And
Ooh.
I am skeptical of people who kind of come out front as leaders who actually don't know how to play,
Mm.
right? Who, I mean, they're responding to the real urgency, right? But
Yeah.
that it gets tricky because that urgency can create this experience of real rigidity and tightness where
Yes.
everything has to be about addressing the issue, doing the work, you
Yes.
know? But where's the laughter? Where's the dancing?
Yes.
You know, where's
Yeah.
community? Where's
Mm-hmm.
the care at?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Even our peoples
Yeah,
uh, across the world
yeah,
in enslavement,
yeah,
in really horrible situations,
yes,
even beloved folks in Gaza, in
yes,
Tigray, in Puerto
yeah,
Rico, right? Like,
yeah,
amongst it all are finding song and joy
yeah,
and moments, people getting married or,
yeah,
coming together because it's
exactly.
like even amidst so much
Yeah,
collapse, it's like, well, what kind of world do we want to co-create together?
yeah,
Where's the futurism in this?
yeah. And
Yeah.
this is something that like I feel very bothered by, right? Because Black people will do joy, like even when shit's falling apart. Like
Yeah.
we are talking shit, we're laughing, we're making jokes, we're just like, okay,
Mhm.
we're going down, okay, let's do it, and I see other communities, particularly white folks, look in and say, oh, y'all don't take shit seriously, which is just a form of anti-Blackness,
Yes. Yes, it is.
then I have to come back and say, listen, my ancestors didn't survive
Yes.
slavery and Jim Crow and continue to survive racism, anti-slavery by just getting serious about shit,
Yes.
right?
That's
It,
right.
it is our joy, our playfulness, and our deep faith, our devotion, our labor that
Yes.
gets us free. But it's the joy that balances out the work,
Yes.
right? As I tell
Yes.
people, listen, if I work hard, you have to know I'm going to play hard. Right. It doesn't matter if the world is falling apart. It doesn't matter if I am facing my own death,
Mhm.
right? I have got to play as hard as I work because that's the balance. And movement work and organizing that has to be the rule, right? Because our seriousness again turns into rigidity. The rigidity just adds to like what we're struggling against,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
people don't get that. Because
No.
the joy also means that we have to get vulnerable. The
Mm.
joy opens up the space around the brokenheartedness,
Mhm.
right? And people are desperately trying to push that away right now, right? And I'm doing the
Deeply.
opposite. I'm desperately pushing them into it, right? Right? Because it's like the brokenheartedness is just like it's full of data. As Audre Lorde,
Mm.
would write, like our anger is full of data. Like all of our emotions are full of data.
Full
All of our
data.
full of data. And so if we are always bypassing these experiences, what are we learning?
Yeah.
Right. And we're just so terrified of letting our hearts break because that means that we'll have to tell the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And if we tell the truth, then,
And
whew,
yeah,
right, then we're like
yeah,
vulnerable.
yeah, yeah. And vulnerable. And
Mm.
how do you survive that? How do you survive the truth and vulnerability when it feels
Yeah.
like everything's attacking you? Right. But you're hearing, but you have to open. Right.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
surrender. You have to let go.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
You have to be held by something or
yeah.
someone, right? You can't do it on your own. So
No, we can't. And so for those that might be listening to this, and myself, this might be selfish as well, that are feeling that constant battle. I feel like I'm doing it a little bit less. Like it's coming a little bit more natural to be
yeah,
in my um not bubble, but in like a a zone of deep care. Because I think like many of us out there, I can be like a sponge and pick up pain around me and this and that and all. And I used to be like, oh yeah, this is amazing. I can feel everything. And I also can come into a room and change the energy of her. Like it would feel like almost like this weird, interesting, egoic, because ego, like
Yep.
power. And then it's like, oh no, this is hypervigilance, girl.
Yes.
Oh, this
hmm
is always assuming there's a dart coming, dodging
Yeah.
and weaving and
Yep.
shit. I don't know if that resonates. I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm making sense, but
Yeah.
how might we begin to be with the both and in a really real
Yeah.
ass fucking way?
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Mm.
I'm gonna say something real Buddhist, but forgive me.
No, please, we love this about you.
I only share this because like this is what helped me so much in relationship to this question, which is I had to tell the truth that I was gonna die, right? That death was going to happen at some point at some
Yes.
time. And
Yeah.
I realized, particularly, when I started getting into practice in Buddhism in my early 20s, I realized that I was terrified of dying, right? Of death itself,
Mm.
right? And Buddhism takes you right to death. Like it doesn't cut corners. It's like we need to deal with this because that's the most fearful thing in people's lives is death,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I had to just spend all this time, years, working through my fear of death, working through impermanence and change and shifting, understanding, aging, right? And understanding that I am more than this moment, more than this body. Like we continue beyond the moment of life into other kinds of lives, into other kinds of being, right? So death is not necessarily an ending, but I see it as a beginning or a continuation into further living and being, right? And once I was able to get into that space,
Mm.
right, then like I just found that I could relax and say, you know what, whatever's going to happen is going to happen,
Mm. Mm.
right? And not only is it going to happen, I am building the capacity to have a practice that meets whatever happens,
Yes.
especially death, but everything else, sickness, everything that we're afraid of, I've developed a practice to meet it. And so I take refuge in my capacity to respond
Mm.
to whatever happens,
How might
right?
we begin to slowly build that capacity if
Mhm.
there's like a lot of tightness and
Yeah.
contraction and fear?
Yeah. First of all, you have to figure out what you're taking refuge in and what you're allowing to hold you. And I get down to basics. I start with the earth. I'm like,
Yes.
where's the land? Where's the earth? How's the earth holding me? Like, how is the earth pouring into me right now? How am I reconnecting to the earth? And as I reconnect to the earth, how am I reconnecting to my body? How am I coming back home to myself? Right? Because a really kind of direct kind of understanding of indigeneity is actually, about being of the earth, from the land, being in a relationship with the phenomenal world, with the natural world.
Yes.
I am of this, right? And vice versa, the natural world is of me, right? There's this connectivity. So that cuts through the sense of isolation,
Yes.
right? Already.
Agreed.
And that helps me to relax so much, to know that like I am being held by the land, if not by anything or anyone else, the land is holding me, right? And
Mhm.
then a second thing for me are the ancestors. Like the ancestors are holding me. The ancestors love me. They want me to be free and happy, right? So I surrender to that holding,
Mm.
right? And that holding is, yes, it's the transmission of just profound love, right? And for me, love is about, it's really the wish to be free.
Yeah.
Love is wanting everything to be free from suffering,
Mm.
right? Everything and everyone. right?
Yes.
And so I feel that from the ancestors, right? And so I feel the earth, I feel the ancestors, I feel, the natural world as well. And all of that over the years has helped me, along with my, just meditation practice, has helped me to develop a confidence in myself, right? And that confidence is really the awakening of self-love,
I
right? And
love it.
that's the thing that's been deeply depleted from us. It's been deprived through systemic oppressions, right? And systemic harm, like my deep love and care for myself, and thus also my confidence that I am enough, right? Because connecting to the earth, connecting to the ancestors, for me is the reclamation of my magic, right? Of my
Yep.
community's magic, right? And
Yeah.
I have to speak very individualistic at this point on purpose,
Mm.
because if I speak too much about the collective experience, it bypasses the self, right? And that's another thing that happens in spaces
Mm.
like we dwell in. It's like, let's talk
Mm.
about the collective, let's talk about community. But we can manipulate collective kind of like belonging to bypass our work, individual work,
Mhm.
our hearts,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And when I started this work, yeah, I came into Buddhism and spiritual practice, of course, through the gate of activism and organizing, which is
Mm.
very unique, for someone in my position,
Yeah.
right? So I was doing the community work, I was doing the organizing, but coming into Buddhism, I was like, oh, but what about me? And
Mhm.
that was the hardest thing to deal with. What about my
Mhm.
rage? What about my brokenheartedness? What about all the ways in which I've bypassed certain kinds of work in myself, which has made more work for others?
Yes.
Right.
And cause harm, I would not
Exactly.
harm, but some
Yeah.
conscious or not,
It's hard.
some
Yeah.
level of
Yeah.
harm.
Both conscious. Yeah.
Mm.
And unconscious, like it's still happening. And so I
Mhm.
had to take that individual healing seriously.
Mm.
Right. And then it's only through my individual healing that I can lean back into relationship, into community, for collective liberation, for collective healing, collective care, right? So I know what I need and I know how to gather what I need. And so I can show up resourced and clear about why I'm there and what I'm doing,
Yes.
you know? All this, like all these practices really come together. And like over time, at this point, in my life, right, as we get close to 50, right, it's just like, oh, like this past 20 to 25 years of practice, particularly, this is what's happened. Like this is the fruit that is yielding as I get into like these middle years and through these middle years, right? Like I can be in the world looking forward, not like excitingly looking forward, but like looking forward to death and saying, yeah, yeah, I see you, you're coming
Yeah.
any day, anytime, and I'll be ready, right? And releasing all of that anxiety around death and just actually reinvesting it in living, being
Yeah.
present, right? Creating a legacy, right, through the work that I'm offering people. Because the most important thing that I can do with this life is to help, right?
Amen.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so all
And
that comes together.
I was gonna say, as you were as you were talking, I was being brought into
Mhm.
two separate thoughts. I'm gonna try to synthesize them very quickly because so much goodness here. The first is I was just in brief conversation online with a friend who is younger than me,
Mhm.
who might not even be 30, and they do amazing work. They're an EMT, but amazing activism work. And I was almost like shocked to hear because sometimes I keep it to myself when I'm
Yeah.
speaking to like the younger brethren,
Yeah.
you know? How
Oh
does
yeah.
that, I don't know if that makes sense. Like,
hmm
and they were just like, sometimes there's so much harm that
Yeah.
comes from some of our organizing spaces when
Yes.
folks are like not asking for what they need. They don't know
Exactly.
themselves. They're not addressing. Like, there's so much
Mhm.
harm that happens sometimes in our community
Mhm.
when we're like not allowed to call out or call in, and like all these rules. And so they were just sharing a little bit of harm that they were experiencing.
Yeah.
And I was like, not only do I hear you loud and clear, but like much like you, you know, I kind of, in different ways, but this work started for me in loving my field so much, and then the heartbreak, which I'm starting
Yeah.
to only now just talk about, like the
Yes.
heartbreak. Before I was talking about like, this is what it looks like, da, da, da. But
Mhm.
now I've had to like kind of break all year long
Yeah.
and like break open and like,
Yeah.
oh, she's so pretty. Look at you, little Jen. Like, look how messy and cute and excited you are. And like, yeah, like you've been heartbroken by some of the things you believed in. Like, and for
Yes.
me, thinking like, oh,
Yeah.
my field of psychology was going to save me or help
Mhm.
me be more this and be less this, and to
Mhm.
fix some of the abuse that I went through throughout my childhood or
Yeah.
beyond.
Mhm.
And like, wait, oh, this feels sticky and icky.
Yeah.
Here's some unconscious and conscious harm that I'm
Yeah.
engaging in.
Mhm.
This doesn't work. And all the time, money,
Yeah.
energy,
Yeah.
poured, really deeply loved being a psychologist, but then I
Yeah.
didn't. If that
Yeah.
makes any sense. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
yeah,
It's the
all of
deep
that. So it's
disappointment.
heartbreak. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I
Yeah.
often define heartbrokenness as just a deep disappointment. Like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. This isn't what I want. Right. This is out of alignment with my deepest aspirations. Right. I think like we get into these spaces, these fields. I felt the same way about Buddhism. Like when I started practicing, I was like, well, this is going to solve all my problems. And like
Mm,
Buddhists are just perfect and they have their shit together. And then you get into these spaces, you get into the field, and it's like, oh, this is just as homophobic and anti-Black and ableist as any
mm.
other space, but it's covered over like with a poster of the Dalai Lama, where we're all, I mean, really, like, like, like it's just like, oh, but there's the Dalai Lama. He's like all of our
Right.
dads. He's like
Right.
the secure, positive, healing grandfather figure, and he's the embodiment of Buddhism. That's what we should focus on. And then I showed up, and I was like, no, like there's real harm happening
Mm.
here, and if we're really going to do this, we have to tell the truth. And in doing that, then you go through that shift where all the romanticizing goes out the window, and you're dealing with the disappointment.
Like any other relationship.
Like any other,
Like we're
like exactly, right? And then you're like, okay, how do I start working this?
Ooh.
Right. If I'm going to be here and stay here, how do I start transforming this? Where's my voice? And that's what I see you doing. And I've seen you do this
Ooh.
for years, even before we met, online. I didn't even know who decolonizing therapy was. I was just like, I thought it was just a collective of people like, doing stuff, right? But like, I was just like, I started reading and like paying attention to your posts, and then you came
Ooh.
out, with your book, right? And which is such a Bible, by the way,
Ooh.
for the mental health field. Like I am recommending this to, I
Thank you.
work with a lot of like mental health professionals. I'm like, you need to be reading Dr. Jen. I hope you get a copy of this.
Thank you.
Right. But you turn that heartbrokenness into medicine, right? A medicine that will continue to heal and shift and change things, right? And
Yeah.
that's what the brokenheartedness is actually always trying to teach us, is that there's medicine here. But if you can't show up to the brokenheartedness and the disappointment, then you can't make that medicine.
Yeah.
Because that medicine is more than just for you, it's for all of us.
Mm.
But
Mhm.
as right, like it has to, that transformation of the brokenheartedness into medicine has to move through our bodies.
It does.
Right. And it's hard.
It is very hard.
'cause
Yeah, when everything is um Well, I think there's some beauty to the online world, right? Because I
Yeah.
wouldn't have met some folks that I'm crazy about, like
Yep.
yourself and others. And there's this like quick, fast, in a hurry, cortisol. Oh, I read this, so I know it.
Mhm.
Right? Like I read
Yes.
this meme and I
Yeah.
resonated with it.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I'm working on that, right? Like, or
Yeah.
I know it. And I find that, you know, I think I could be wrong, but
Mhm.
I think there's a thing that I've really related to with you in my mind anyway, is that I think, and I'm going to speak for myself here, I can sit with people in deep, deep pain.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of things I can't do
Mhm. Right.
well in this world.
Yeah.
Don't ask me to do my bookkeeping, honey. Don't ask me to like,
Right. Say
right?
it.
Like there's a lot that Jen
Yep.
is not good at, but I was a good fucking space holder, sitter, be
Yeah.
with the shit therapist, call it what you want to call it.
Yeah.
But I remember that's what I get out of being in spaces, um, is watching that transformation
Mhm.
and watching a person kind of like energetically. I feel like I get to do this and pull back
Mhm.
little by little, like, look, this little, like, you've never
Yeah.
been a little bird. You've always been out of the cage, like,
Right.
but there's that
Mhm.
energy of like, look at how to take some of this like shit
Yeah.
and not do we want to make something with it? Do you want to
Right.
bury it? Do you want to like
Mhm.
grow flowers off? Like you get to decide. Jen
Mhm.
did this with it, right? And this is
Yeah.
how I process some of my pain and how to share my medicine, but what do you want to do? And I feel like that is something. Not only did I watch you and was I in space in the retreat with you while you were doing that, but also I feel like you communicate that through your writing, through the spaces that you hold, that there is it is clear to me when people are able to sit with their own pain.
Yeah.
When they're about it. That's what we would
Yeah.
say around the way.
Yes.
Like, oh, she on that.
You're
She's
about it.
about it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so I thank you for being with that, because one of the things that struck me from the retreat, and I know this intellectually,
Yeah.
but I say this to people all the time, and they're like, "Hey, I decolonize therapy. I do that." I'm like, wonderful. So, how's that showing up in your body? How's that showing up in your relationship? How's that showing up in your
Yeah.
spirit?
Yeah.
Like we're the work,
Yeah.
right? Like I always like it's not.
Mhm.
There's no certification
Yeah.
because we can't certify our fucking selves. Right? Like
Right.
we are the testament. We
Yeah.
are the, I don't know, the Buddha.
Yeah. Right.
If that's okay
Absolutely.
to say,
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
and what I saw you, felt you more, um, do that felt so beautiful, and I could open to it so easily, like tendrils, you, Sister Sadada, everybody there
Yeah.
that was teaching this beauty of witnessing and being with someone else's pain, confusion,
Mhm.
all of it, as well
Mhm.
as your own
Yep.
at the same time
Yep.
without it
Yep.
getting, I don't know how to.
No, yeah, like getting like it's just like with it clumping together and getting really
Yeah.
heavy. Right.
Yes.
But that's the process. Like we've gone through these years of learning how to sit with our pain. And people listening to this may say, oh, like that sounds very passive or, but no, it's like when we say sit with or be with, we're talking also about experiencing,
Yes.
and most of us do not experience our emotions, our bodies, like we react to them. And we think that reactivity is the experience. Right. But what I had to learn early on was that like I had to learn to feel, all these energies. And I started really with anger early in my practice. I had to learn how to feel anger in my body. And that transforms my relationship, not just to anger, but to all my emotions, to my mind, to my thoughts. I was like, oh, this is what it is to feel, to experience, to open to, right? To like hold on for dear life, as these energies are moving through and not reacting, right? Not distracting myself. And when you do that, even just for the very first time, when you do that, everything changes. There is a real liberation that happens, right? Because you get it. Like, it's like, oh, this is what it is, right? This is what I've been afraid of,
Yes.
right? And so when you're able to do that, your suffering, yes, it still feels very antagonistic, but there's a closeness that we
Mm.
develop with our suffering, with our discomfort. I would, even say it becomes the teacher.
Yes.
And so I let go of all of this resistance. Yeah, there's still some resistance, but I've let go of so much of resistance pushing away. And I can just let my discomfort be there, my suffering be there. So when I show up for others, then like my suffering doesn't need anything but just acknowledgement. The suffering is just like, listen, I'm here. Don't forget me. Don't bypass me. I'm like, cool, check. Right. So now let's open up the space and to invite other people suffering into it so I can do for them what I've been doing for you.
Yes.
Right. And that's all I'm doing. Right. When I'm teaching or when I'm just holding space in a retreat, it's like, yeah, I've been there. I am where you're trying to get to. And I want you to see me as an example of what being there looks like, that you, for the most part, can survive it, right? With a little skillfulness, with some care, with some gentleness, moving at your own pace, because all of that's important. Like over time, doing all of that, we learn how to come back to our experience, right? Because when we're holding and sitting with our discomfort, right, then the joy starts to open, right? And for me, my joy is rooted in my capacity to be with suffering, right? I am happy that I'm able to make this choice, in a way maybe some of my ancestors didn't get an opportunity to do because it was so overwhelming and because they didn't have access into the kind of space and knowledge and resources that I have.
Absolutely.
Right. So what we do in holding our suffering and tending to our own suffering is what we're also doing for our ancestors who need to see us doing it, because it's going to help get them free from their suffering. Right.
Yes. I believe this 100%. And I think this, for me, over the years, it has felt like unlocking, not in some moment, but this like slow uncurling, unfurling, unlocking of, well, we have a little bit more space here.
Yeah.
Oh, we can be in our body a little bit more.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm avoiding the impact I have on others.
Right.
And so I am shrinking. And then I'm going to meet all of these kind of like mirrors and projections until I step into it and really own it. And the grief. And it's funny. I'm thinking for me, I don't know if I have to identify with anything or any box, but spiritual, connected to my ancestors, that is the overarching. But I am drawn into various different spiritualities throughout my life because I think I'm a seeker of truth, of my truth and truth. And quick little story. I don't know if I've ever told you this. I'm sitting in a research methods class in Jersey City, New Jersey. And again, with maths, I'm just sitting there like rolling my eyes thinking I studied something. I don't think it was this. I don't know what this is. And we're at this like long kind of research table. And I open my hand. I always had like crystals. And this is like early 20s then, like 23, 22. And there was a store in the city. I don't know if it's still there. Sticks, Stones and Bones and Christopher Street in New York City. And it's where we go to be all queer. Henrietta's on the Hudson and, all of our fun. And I had a crystal from the shop and I had like my hand halfway open and I hear psst, psst. I'm like, and I turn and look down and there's this white woman at the end her name is Miranda. I came to find out, and she opens her hand and does this, right? And she is the same crystal, and she's like, "Let's talk afterward. Let's talk." And I'm like, "Okay," like, and I'm like, "Okay," and we connected, and at that time I was partying it up, since 14, partying it up with my friend Renata, and doing the damn thing, and instead of going to Downtimes or Jimmy's Bronx Cafe or wherever we would go Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, Miranda invited us to her spiritual circles, right? And we didn't know that it was like Upper West Side, like someone else's house. We walk in, the people definitely felt that they were not from where we were from. But they were super welcoming. They had 3 Sphinx cats, which at the time I was not a cat person, but they were like attached to me. And I came to find out that these were like shamanic journeys.
Yeah.
With drumming and Miranda was the person. And so me and Renata did this instead of partying on Friday. We still partied other days, but Friday nights we did that, and then we just had tea afterwards. And from there, I realized I needed psychology, but like a spiritual program when I was going into grad school. And so I found my program, and it was Buddhism, Hinduism, and psychology, and a whole lot of other bullshit. But that's another podcast for another day.
Right.
With everything that goes with it, But what I loved in this, when I look at that path, right, and that pattern, is that it always found me. Does that make sense? Like even when I tried to get away and tried to drink it away and smoke it away and this it away and start it away and like, turn it up and be on the stage away, and like it still was going to be like, and like, and what is your you, not your flattened trying to not feel all the pain. And so this story, why I share it, is it's been coming up for me because my beloved Isis, my cat, she's 17.
Oh,
and
wow.
Yes, and she's a beautiful lady, and this is definitely one of my soulmates, whatever that means, right? I've been with her before. And I am struck with so I've been going back to my shamanic journeys and going back to some of these Buddhist beginning principles, because in that program, then I somehow adjacently met Ruth King, and then did Ruth King's work and joining her rage retreats. I didn't have no money. She hooked me up, and, but really started getting into Buddhism and chanting and being with, and I was in a lot of pain at that time. Right. That I was drugging and pushing away. But now this, what is it? It's called like a kind of anticipatory grief. For Isis's passing. As she shifts earth, like I could feel it in me even now. Like, and I tell everybody, like, I will not be around. I will not be well. And I'm like, wait. What if what about this story? You're already telling a story here, Jen. But I'm with this anticipatory grief where sometimes she's on my lap and she's looking good, and I'm like, it's only me. I can't do it. Like what will I be? Who will I be? And it just brings me. Everything you're sharing is bringing me to this. Like I know I've been doing this all along, and here I am faced with the at some point in the next few years or sooner, this impending loss of this magnificent being who brings me absolute joy and peace and sees me right, and asks very little, tuna fish and to be left alone and things of that nature, but I know it's more than that, and I'm sitting with all of this grief, and I think, and I start bargaining, like, ooh, give me another year and I'll blank. So I don't know if you have, I don't know if you have any thoughts about that like gripping. I know better, and please, not this, not now, not.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a really beautiful, profound moment of being human. right? That we desire things, we hold on, we're attached, right? And to honor that, like with ISIS, like we honor that, and we say, okay, this has been a beautiful journey. This has been a beautiful life, right? And I know that as you prepare to transition, like this is not the last time we'll see each other or be with each
No.
other, right? And that's the piece that really helps me. You know, it reminds me of Janet Jackson's song. You know, the one that she wrote. Why am I forgetting the title? The one she wrote about her friends who had died and transitioned during the AIDS epidemic. You know, what was it? I'll see you again or something like that. It's
Okay.
the upbeat one. Every time you look up above and beyond, you know.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes,
Well,
yes.
yeah.
What is the
What
name of that?
I know. Why
We'll
am I?
remember it at the.
Yeah, I know. Why am I forgetting the lyrics? But anyhow, like it's really like that song where it's just like, no, we're gonna see each other again.
Yes.
Like you had to leave. I'll see you again. I just hold on to that wisdom, right? You
Yeah.
know, because this isn't the end for any of us,
No.
right? Right. But it was so interesting, just what you were just sharing about how the path finds us. I just think sometimes for me too, it's that like maybe the path didn't find me, but I just got distracted.
Ooh, say more.
Like
Ooh.
I'm not. It's not like I'm off the path, right? But I'm just focusing on something else. And so
Ooh.
my attention comes back and says, "Oh, okay, where am I at? I guess I'm still here." Right. And
Ooh.
it's how I felt about like meeting my spiritual practices, particularly beginning with Buddhism, right? Soon as I started practicing, it felt like the red carpet rolled out, right? It just felt like everything started falling into alignment. Like I knew what I was going to be doing for the rest of my life. Like I knew how I was going to be doing it, right? And I
Ooh.
was like, oh, why did it take me into my early 20s to
That.
come back? And then now at this point, I look back and say, but I was never off the path. I just wasn't like, I just didn't recognize what was happening because
Ooh.
everything in my
Yeah.
life led me to a moment of saying yes to
Ooh.
a real spiritual practice. I mean, I grew up in the Black church, which is a deep part of who I am. That my ancestors, who were deeply tied to the church, absolutely. So I was already on the path, right?
Mhm.
And then just another piece of the path revealed itself, when I
Ooh.
started practicing meditation, you
Beautiful. So
know. Mhm,
how did you, I imagine you entered a
mhm.
monastery. Yeah?
Well,
Or
eventually, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
because first of all, I came into practice just because everyone around me was practicing meditation
Got
and
it.
Buddhism. I was living in an activist community, but we were also deeply spiritual, right? And everyone was practicing meditation. Everyone was in therapy, you know, and not everyone was Buddhist per se, but everyone
Mhm.
really understood the value
Mhm.
of meditation practice, right?
Mhm.
Um, and then this was in my early 20s after I graduated college, and I just found myself in this intense emotional crash,
Mm.
right? Which was many things, right? I've called it many things over the years, but in general, it was an emotional crash. Like it felt like my previous operating system just started crashing up until
Mm.
that point. Now, my operating system often
Ooh.
crashes and I have to reboot, but
Mhm.
that's like the evolution of the whole thing. But back then, that was the first time anything like that had happened where I just felt like everything was shutting down. And I was losing hope and
Mm.
inspiration and connection and belonging, and everything was getting dark, right? And then that's when, I mean, many things happened, many interactions, but eventually I was led to a spiritual healer, and this healer was like, listen, you need to take meditation seriously. So I'd already been doing it. I wasn't really taking it seriously, but they were like, listen, take this meditation seriously, and we're going to start doing some other stuff on top of that. Things that back then felt like totally out there, but now they're just like a daily part of my life.
Beautiful.
Just like there's chakra work and like, working with spirits and doing rituals and everything. I was just like, oh, this is way out there, but I also really enjoyed it. So that was a sign for me, even back then, when I was just like, oh, but this feels familiar, even though I've never done this before. Right. And then that really started reloading everything, and I came back into my meditation, and I was like, okay, meditation is great, but it's time for me to do Buddhism full on, and then that led me to the monastery, becoming a monk, right? Going into 3 years of cloistered retreats, after which I earned the title Lama, which means teacher. And this is all in the Tibetan tradition of Buddhism. Yeah.
Magnificent. And and of course you don't have to answer this. This is not alignment, but what was it like to be a Black queer queen?
Yeah.
In a monastery.
First of all, I was wearing lots of fabrics and bright colors. I was wearing a nice maroon dress, so I was like coming into it for real, right? And on top of that, right, it just felt so natural. It really did. Like it was no kind of dissonance at all.
It's beautiful.
Like I was like, oh, this is what I should be doing right now. I should be in robes and holding these bows and with my head shaved, which is what I do anyway. But but just like, I'm a Black queer man in Tibetan monastic robes, right? No one ever seen that quite like that before. I'd never seen a Black Tibetan Buddhist monk before. I was the first Black Lama that I ever met.
Wow.
I mean, I didn't see myself reflected in the tradition at all. I just knew that this is where I belong. And this is a big part of the story, because you were raised in the Northeast. I was raised in the Deep South. And so in the Deep South, it's not so much diversity, especially when I was growing up in my little town, right? So we were very aware that Black people did certain things and they didn't do certain things. And this is not, Black people weren't Buddhist, right? And so that stayed pretty accurate until I became a Buddhist, where I was like, well, this Black person's a Buddhist. I was the first Black Buddhist I'd ever met, first Black Lama I ever met, right? But it didn't matter because I was like, this practice is for me. Also, this practice is for my people. Right? So part of my work is to make Buddhism, meditation accessible for Black and Brown communities. Well, particularly Black and Brown communities who don't have access to traditions.
Or feel like, oh, I can't do that, or I don't know how, or that's not for us. And
that's not for us, and I had to let go of that, and it was tough for my family, because I was living outside of their experiences. Right.
Did they come around?
Girl, they come around when you start accomplishing stuff.
Right. Yes.
When you get that PhD, when you publish that book, when you make it onto this show, or when their favorite celebrities start following you on social media, that's when that tune changes.
True.
So and I was like, I'm okay with that. Like, you needed something that made sense. So like my beliefs, my training doesn't make sense. But this book being on the bestseller list makes sense. Me being on some like talk show makes sense. Me being featured in a magazine make sense. Like, and
Yes.
I just started presenting. I was like, listen, this is, I've done this here, you can have this copy, the magazine, and people in my family would be so impressed. They're like, oh my God. Of course, when I landed on stage with Dr. Angela Davis.
One of my favorite moments. Thank you.
Angela. I really wanted to call her Angie, but I think I was gonna like push it. I was like, she was like, call me Angela, but I was like, Angie? No, I'm not gonna do that. But like
that was beautiful.
That whole experience, my family was online during that event last November, and they were like, oh my God, my cousin is sitting on stage with Angela Davis. Which you can find the recording on YouTube, by the way, It
was magnificent.
Yeah, and I was
Angela, Princess.
And
it
Princess.
was a beautiful conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the three of us, and my family was like, oh, this is what happens like when you do what you do. I was like, yeah, but this happens when we take our training, our learning, our work, and dedicate it to the liberation of our communities.
Yes.
Right, to the welfare, to the care of people. Like, it's not, I didn't land there because I was a Black Buddhist. I landed there because I took Buddhism and made it accessible and relevant to our people, to our communities, to the people that hold us accountable.
Yes.
And that's important for me. It's important for people to see us embodying, what this looks like, to embody these places, these trainings that they were told were not accessible, or that Black and brown and queer people don't have a right to. Like, I just don't let that stand in the way anymore.
No.
No. And that's still something that like feels like confusing, I think, for some of my family. It's like, how you were born and raised in the same place we were all born and raised in, but how did you end up like becoming a Buddhist, and doing all this stuff,
being a superstar,
I guess, right? And being raised in like Rome, Georgia, like, who does that? And I was just, I tell people, no, I just kept listening. I kept following something. I literally, that's all it was. I was like, for like the first like 20, 25 years of my life, like there was something that kept leading me. Right. And I just kept following. I just kept saying yes. When the door opened, I walked through, and I just kept doing it over and over and over again until I stopped and I said, oh, where am I going? Like, how did I get here? And then it all starts to make sense that like I've always been on the path, right? But I've always been on it, but I've not always known that. I've been conscious of it, right? And so that for me is like, I have deep gratitude to like, everyone and everything that's kept me on the path when I wasn't conscious of it, to the ancestors, to the spirits, right? To the lands, right? To the Buddhas, like everyone, to my family, right? To everyone who encouraged me to keep going, right? Because my family wasn't saying no at all, but they were just like, okay, we're going to trust you, even though we don't understand it.
Yeah.
And for me, that's meaningful.
Yeah.
It's so meaningful to have a family that says, listen, like I had an aunt, one of my favorite aunts, but I hope they don't listen to this. But I tell all of my aunts that, by the way.
I love it.
It depends on what I need. But no, like one of my aunts, she gave me some money when I was going into a 3-year retreat. This was the mid 2000s. And she was like, listen, I'm not giving you this money so you can do whatever you're doing. I'm giving this money because I want you to be okay. And I've really sat with that over the years. That's been almost 20 years ago. I've just really sat with that. and said, yeah, she was like, listen, I don't get what you're doing, but I love you. So I'm going to trust you to do with this money,
Wait,
whatever way you need to use it. Yeah, what you
yeah,
will, what I will, right? Right. And I was like, this is enough.
yeah. And
Like,
that's
this
a
is all I
definition of
need.
love too.
Yeah,
That allowed, I
exactly.
imagine, for you to feel liberated
Yeah.
in some way,
Yeah,
because we know
absolutely.
that money,
Yeah.
we need money
We need
that is
money.
liberating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We need that transference of energy, currency, right? Right. And that's, I know some people, it feels important for them to have the full consent of their family,
Ooh.
but you won't always get that. Right. And we've had to make some choices, where I think that our family has looked on and said, what are you doing? You
Ooh.
know, one person in my family was like, you're joining a cult.
Ooh. Ooh.
And I didn't have the heart to say I
Ooh.
kind of am,
Yeah.
but like I didn't want to put fuel into that
Florida?
fire. I was like, let me keep my mouth shut. I was like, it kind of is a cult, but like I know that this is the kind of cult that I need
Yeah.
to do right now. And
Yeah.
they trusted me and they let me go for 3 years and a cloistered retreat. I couldn't leave. I couldn't get visitors. I could get letters and stuff, but no phone calls.
Well,
Right. And they trusted that I was going to be held and protected and safe. Right. And my mom loved it because it wasn't prison,
right.
you know? So that was also
right.
the expectations I was working with. It's just like,
Right.
well, it's not jail.
Right.
So I can trust it a little more,
Ooh.
you
Hopefully
know?
it'll make you better.
Yeah,
Whatever that means. Whatever that means.
and I think that's also what my family sees too, is that like I'm different, right? I'm better, I'm healthier, I'm more committed. I know what I'm
Ooh.
doing. I'm not financially dependent on them.
Ooh.
That's which is the other thing, it's like, oh, you seem to be making money,
Yes.
because you know how we think, you know.
Yes. Yes. You have a roof over your head.
Yeah,
You're paying your own bills.
yeah,
You're not asking. My parents say the same thing. Like,
yeah.
yeah, you're not asking us.
You got your car, you got your little money. You're not calling us every week for money. Okay, we can, as long as that's happening, consent to this.
Yeah.
But it does.
Yeah.
It was kind of shaky for years. I'm not gonna lie. Like the
Mm,
post retreat years, my family was like, okay, listen, you invested a lot of time and energy into this
mm.
whole monastery thing, but now you living in your dad's basement, because I was. Went straight from retreat into my dad's basement. It wasn't, the optics weren't great.
I could just imagine.
And my dad was like, you joined a cult, now you live in my basement. Like, this isn't going to work out, And that was about 2.5 years.
Okay.
It's like
Yeah.
post-retreat recovery, living
Yeah.
in my dad's basement, which I'm deeply grateful for my dad
Mhm.
allowing me,
Mm,
and taking care of me like that, because I was in
mm,
my early 30s then,
mm.
you know? And I needed that time to like figure out, okay, how do I translate this experience into the work that's meaningful for
Yes.
me, right? And that just began like like 10 years, maybe 5 at least, but definitely up to 10 years of really getting clear about what it is that I'm doing. And that included going back to school, that included training in other modalities,
Mm,
and traveling more, and teaching more, and really just figuring out who I was as this Black queer teacher who I didn't have an example for. I didn't have any role models, right? Until I met Reverend Angel,
mm.
Reverend Angel Kyoto Williams, right? Who's a great Zen teacher, Black woman Zen teacher. And she found me. Well, we found each other, but she knew about me, a little bit before, I reached out to her. And she just grabbed me. She was like, I'm going to help you.
Mm,
I'm going to help you be known
mm,
and not erased,
mm.
And I owe her so much, many teachers, but I owe her so much, in terms of her eldership, her friendship, her deep care, right? Um, and she's a
We
big
need
reason
that.
why I'm here. Yeah, that's it. We need people who don't see us as
Mhm.
a threat, who aren't
Yes.
jealous. I fear that there's so much jealousy,
Yes.
and territorialism
Yes.
in our spaces where the elders are like, you know what, there's a short supply of everything, and so I'm gonna hold on to mine. I'm gonna cling to it, and I hope you can do the best that you can, but I'm not gonna help you.
Yeah,
Because
I
I'm afraid
know.
of losing my resources.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate that. Like
Yeah.
I struggle with that so
There's
much.
enough to go around.
Exactly. But the Reverend Angel was so generous with everything: time, money, space,
Mm.
connections, right? And I hope to do that for people, right? It's to just, again, as we were saying at the earlier on, like just to pour into people,
Pour in.
So
Yes.
I feel resourced. I don't feel depleted. I feel very resourced. So why am I afraid? Why should I be afraid of pouring into folks, right?
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
what I'm trying to do moving forward.
You are doing. You have been doing. And
The
um I'm also thinking as you're talking of all the ways in which, this concept of like being a role model or what have you, how that gets thrown around, but it really is an
yeah,
action. It's
yes,
like it is love and action, in all respect to any requests. And I'm sure you receive them. So people say like, I want you to mentor me, or I want this, or I want that. And I find
yeah,
that sometimes the most natural experiences of mentorship just happen.
yeah,
And
exactly.
they are co-occurring, and there is
Hmm.
a sense of the reciprocity could look different,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It might not be the exact exchange, but there is a sense of seeing also the humanity and the totality of
hmm,
who the mentor is.
yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense. Yeah, but it's that energy of, oh, this is an alignment, and I see this nugget in
yeah,
you, and not
yeah,
everybody that we look up to is the right one to lead us to those beautiful waters, you
exactly.
know?
Because there's a lot of
Um,
sharks in this water who use the disguise of like mentorship or eldership to take advantage of you. And those are tough stories,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
And that's something that I'm afraid of, which is why I have the kind of ethical, professional and personal boundaries that I have, you
that's
know?
beautiful. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. We have to
Yeah,
have that, right?
yeah,
In our
yeah.
field, right? Um, I'm not here trying to take advantage of people. And I tell people this all the time. I do a lot of work to figure out what I need,
Cool.
right? So I'm not always showing up with this hunger or desire to manipulate others to get my
Mhm.
unmet needs satisfied. Right?
Love that about you. Yeah. And I think that's a testament to whatever we call this what we've been talking about in the work and the
So,
journey, right? Like being able to be with our shadowy parts and our
mhm,
all of
mhm,
that crunchiness, um, in order to be like, oh wait, I want you to win, and you. You're like
yeah,
there is enough that we all gonna eat.
yeah,
Um, just don't, you know, run in and push everybody aside either, right? Because
exactly.
that
Mhm,
sometimes we can see how someone's traumas
yeah,
and fear of haven't had, or I've been
mhm,
harmed in all these ways, can lead to this like, well, you need to give me
yeah,
A, B, C, D, E, F, G,
mhm,
and we deserve to have boundaries
exactly.
to embody them.
Yeah. Or we get overconsumed, which is
Mm,
something I think happens to a lot of Black and Brown Indigenous folks, in these spaces. So I'm
yes.
not here to be consumed. You don't have to consume me because I'm freely pouring.
Ooh.
Like, take what I pour. Don't try to like stick a straw in me and suck me up.
Yeah.
Like the Kool-Aid man, right? Yeah.
Like, yes. Yeah. Right. Because then the natural reaction is to contract
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
to pull away from that energy. So I have two more questions, if
Okay.
that's okay.
Sure.
I have two. I can't. I'm like, how? And I woke up thinking about this question. So it's not even such a deep one, but I just woke up thinking of you and this question. How might you say your Lama Rod's stewardship, work, practice, how might it differ from what you were taught and the lineage in which you were taught? Like, what do you think? I'm not probably asking this in the right way, but yeah, how is your sauce different from that which raised you?
Yeah. The teaching or a phrase that comes to mind, which I've been sharing recently, is that I'm not so much interested in Buddhism as I am interested in Dharma. And so really, in general, what that means in relationship to your question is that, like, I'm really just interested in what it means to be free and how to do that. I'm not necessarily interested in a dogma or religion, right? I'm interested in what feels organic and direct and natural and creative, right? And that also means that, like, I don't let the fear dictate so much anymore, right? Because I started letting all of that go years ago. It's just like, well, Black people don't do this, but here I am doing it.
Word.
Like when I started therapy was the biggest secret from my family. They could know everything else. My queerness, my like sexual practices, which I talk about in all my books. So that's not even a secret anymore. But like I was so afraid to admit that I had been in therapy, had been in treatment in my 20s, because that was all happening as I was like collapsing, like therapy was a big support for me until meditation came along. But no, like letting go of what we've been told not to do and do what feels healing for us, regardless of sometimes if we're the only Black or brown one in the room, which I was for many years, particularly coming to Buddhism.
I love that. Yeah.
So that's how it's changed for me.
Yeah.
Like I'm just like creative and open and fluid and just saying yes to what feels like is for me, right? Because I'm studying also right now to be an herbalist as well, which I've been so thrilled about, and I've been finishing my second year of studies. I have another 6 or 7 months left.
Oh, you in it? Wait,
I'm in it. No,
this not a little like 6-week course here.
No, darling, no. I didn't just read a book, honey. And I was called into the medicine because it was like your ancestors did this, so you need to be doing it. Right. And herbs and plants and really just this medicinal relationship to the earth always felt distant for me.
Me too.
Like inaccessible, And I was like, no, I'm going to do this, not to just become an herbalist, but to actually have something to kind of pass on, because I think the transition of real kind of like magic and healing like this in our like family lineages have been often disrupted.
Yes.
And I think so much of what I'm trying to do is reestablish these practices for my family and for my descendants, whoever that may be down the road, right?
What's your favorite plant right now and why?
You know what? Right now, I am, as I'm moving into winter practice, which we call wintering.
Okay.
I am wintering or journeying with hops. which is like the
Ooh,
hops that you use to make beer.
beer. I was gonna say,
Yeah,
okay,
beer. Yeah.
yes.
So you take the grain itself, the flowers, the dry flowers, leaves, and everything, and you can, you can brew them, or well, you can like steep them, and make them into other things. But like I'm working with hops, right? Because one, it feels deeply tethered to the earth, right?
Mm,
It feels very earthy for some reason. Secondly, it just helps with our calming, our nervous system,
mm,
right? I think these are the two things I'm really wanting to be held by as I move into this season,
yes,
as we move into the winter, right? So I'm working with hops, and so hops is new, for
beautiful,
me. But I work with many herbs daily, in my own personal protocol as
beautiful.
well.
Like teas,
Mhm.
would you
Yeah,
find? Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
teas, tinctures, I do oils, I do
Mm,
lotions and creams. I burn herbs in my home to clear energy or to promote something, energy in the home. Like, I take them in many different ways, right? And I drink a lot of tea, so I have like a whole, stacks of herbs now.
beautiful witchy
And
cabinet.
yeah, that's it. That was like, and that's exciting for me. Like, as I'm aging, I want to be an old, witchy, magical Black man.
Yeah, I'm with you.
That's it. Like
Yeah.
there's that positionality that I want to reclaim, right? Like
Yes.
I want to reclaim aging as something important, noble, beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and to enter
Mm.
into eldership knowing that I did what I could,
Yes.
right, to get there. And
Yes.
I am doing what I need to do to move into my eldership, right? And then eventually death, right? And I want to leave in joy,
Oof.
right? And that's the point. I want to leave this life in joy, not in
Yes.
regret.
No.
Right? That's all. I say yes to as much as I can. Well,
Yeah. And I thank you for kind of bouncing that off of me, letting me absorb that and the modeling of it and the reminder. These days, I can settle into that more.
mhm.
But as you were talking about nervous system, sometimes it's my nervous system. Sometimes it is the energetic system,
Is
the
that
energy. Like I can
okay?
pick up, and only recently have really learned how to unplug from the collective. Like I didn't even know I needed
Mhm.
to unplug
Hey, man.
and like the how, if that makes sense, the how
Yes.
to
Yeah.
do so, that half the
Mhm.
time what was running through me was not mine. So it's great for like channeling and posts and knowing what everybody needs. Honey,
Mhm.
wonderful. It is
Mhm.
not wonderful at
Yeah.
maintaining my sovereignty
Woo.
energetically,
Mhm.
intellectual, all of it, like
Yeah.
really being it. Oh no, wait, that doesn't. No, thank you, that's
Yeah.
good, or like that.
Yep.
As one of my teachers will frequently say, like horizontally, Jen,
Yeah.
vertically, not horizontally. That's it. Like
Mhm.
like your higher self. Like
Yeah.
remember
Mhm.
who you are,
And I also say what we are as well. Like,
what
remember
we are.
what I am as a state of being that transcends like duality and suffering. You know,
Mm,
and as I think we've talked about before, it's just like you need like what I call your armor barrier. That's an old like Southern Black phrase. Like because the preachers and the ministers and the evangel or the evangel I can't even get the word out.
Evangelist.
Evangelists. Sometimes they get stuck. Yeah, like they would roll around with like an entourage, you know, but that's what we need as well. Like we need people looking out for us, protecting us, moving with us, like the people who love us, who need us to be in the world,
Yes.
right? Those are the people who say, what do I need to do to make sure that you're sustainable?
Yes. Received.
Yeah.
Receiving.
Yeah.
Yes. I think we can go on for hours. However,
No.
however, I want to honor, the rest of your day and all that good shit. And but before, I ask you for some last thoughts and ways that folks can connect with you and what you're
Sure.
into right now. I have like this last statement, question, a moment that was so beautiful for me that I want to share, because I
Sure.
don't know if I've ever directly shared it with
Okay.
you. And forgive me because I can't remember for the life of me what the proper name of what we were doing was. So I'm
Okay.
I'm gonna
Okay.
butcher it. So I'm
Okay.
just letting you know. So on the beautiful autumn moon retreat,
Mhm.
as normal for me, as per usual, it takes a few days for me to like orient to my environment,
Right.
because
Mhm.
I'm an old biddy, so I have my ways and my home, what I mean? Like, my cat and my witchy things and
Yep.
my nightly routine and be in a room with other beautiful Black women. I'm just like, honey, like this is a lot, right? And a lot in the best possible way. And I don't remember when it was in the retreat, but it felt very maybe common or normal for others that might have been practicing
Yeah.
on this path. But was it like like chanting or singing
Mhm.
to Tara?
Yeah. Chanting.
Yeah, chanting
Yeah.
and um the mantra, is that
Mhm.
the
Yep.
the mantra and phase. And so as it started, I found myself, it was like little Jen, like, oh, wait, what's happening? Oh my God, this is new to
Uh-huh.
me. Like I felt
Oh.
myself contract
Yeah.
and get
Mhm.
like a little shield, like a little egg.
Yep.
Like I'll hear it and this is beautiful. But it kept stirring something in me and stirring
Wow.
something. And then I was just like gently whispering the words. And then I think that there was someone behind me that had this amazing soprano voice that was killing it with you and Sister Nasa. I don't
Yeah.
know what y'all were doing, but it was like boop, 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 right? Like it was just beautiful.
Yep.
But I let, or rather they came in me. And then I felt like this, like,
Yeah.
oh, mother.
Yes.
Like I could feel it now,
Mhm.
this like, this like full body expansion and
Mhm.
receiving. And I almost felt like
Mhm.
I was gathered up on
Yeah.
this like metaphorical lap,
Mhm.
and then the next thing I know, I'm
Yeah.
singing at the top of my lungs and being
Mhm.
with it and sobbing.
Yep.
And I just
Yes,
have to
sir.
say, what kind of beautiful magic hoodoo was that, honey?
Mhm.
Because like it was just that I've been trying to find it and recreate it in myself, or
Mhm.
like and I haven't been able to grasp it by myself. But
Mhm.
that collective
Mhm.
moment of singing and laughter and crying and
Yeah.
praising
Mhm.
and like, so thank you,
Yeah.
because I needed that moment, and it
Mhm.
happened a few times
Yep.
on the retreat.
Yep.
But what was that? Could you tell me more?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so we were practicing the female Buddha Tara. Tara is the embodiment of compassion, which is the wish to end suffering, right? And so the mantra was probably Om Matara Soha,
Mm.
which is
Mm-hmm.
not a traditional mantra. I wrote that mantra myself, right? That's not the main mantra for Tara, for the traditional Tara practice. But that's what I use because it's so easy for people to get into, and it carries the same power that her main mantra carries. And so when we start doing that, it really starts opening up channels, portals,
Mm.
right? It starts relaxing us and opening us because the frequencies, the rhythm, and just the consciousness of Tara herself is really about vulnerability. So you
Mm.
start surrendering to it, and then you start opening. right? You start opening to energies, you start opening to being held. Like, I think that it's easier for different kinds of spirits, particularly the ancestors, to draw closer to us,
Ooh,
right? In that. And then we begin to trust it, and we begin to open and relax. And that intensifies the experience. Like, things just start clearing, like the grief starts clearing, pain starts clearing, the joy starts really awakening,
yeah.
in that practice. And I moved to the same thing too. I think it was also that same practice retreat where I was just kind of going through a lot as
Mm.
well. So the practice came and met me and
Oh,
opened me and moved things through as well. Right. Because I'm with people in practice. I'm not like outside of practice. I am practicing with you. So I'm having my experiences as well. But
beautiful.
so many people don't have that. I mean, growing up in the Black church, I think it was kind of prevalent for us to catch the spirit and for all that to happen, right? I think it's just very similar. We surrender, we open, we feel safe, and then the spirits start moving, the energies start moving. Like, we start connecting to our higher self,
Yes,
right? And I wish everyone could have that experience
me too.
of
Me too.
meeting their higher selves.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what
Yeah.
keeps me going every day.
Word. Me too.
Mm.
I think you say, yeah, yeah. Those moments are really seeing
Yeah.
my true self, and it's
Yep.
not in body form. You know,
Exactly.
we can tap into that and be like, yeah,
Uh-huh.
and this is in alignment. I'm supposed
Yep.
to do this.
Yep.
Even the moments where like, I can't, and this church, I can't, all this mess or that.
Mhm.
But the reminder of like, no, this is where I'm happiest is
Yeah.
serving and transmutating,
Yep. Exactly.
alchemizing, helping people alchemize this level of hardened ancestral
Uh-huh.
pain into a fucking medicinal salve.
Exactly. That's it. Exactly.
So where can folks listening in? I almost forgot that we're in a podcast. That's the best. I love that for us. Where can folks
Mhm.
find you,
Yeah.
connect with you,
Uh,
sing and chant with you?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Tell us.
Yeah, absolutely. The best way to connect to me is through my website. All of my events are right there. We have lots of online programs, gatherings. So I ask people just to do that, to sign up for the newsletter is also really helpful to stay connected. I do lots of in-person retreats and teachings, around the country and in multiple countries, as well. So you can check my website to see where I'll be traveling, and also here in Atlanta as well.
Yes.
This month begins in-person monthly gatherings as well. So I haven't really been rooted in Atlanta, but now we have a physical location and a
Beautiful.
space now. So we're going to start meeting regularly here for people who are local. All that's on the
Nice.
website. Yep.
Yay. And is there anything on your spirit, on your mind that
Mhm.
you would like to close us out with? Is there anything you'd like to share?
Yeah. I mean, just first, how grateful I am to be invited into this space with you,
Mm,
someone that I
mm,
deeply admire, deeply
mm.
trust, and I'm so deeply, yeah, inspired by, me and so much, and so many communities right now, and so many of the people I collaborate with know and love you and the work that you're doing. And we're just a part of this like collective of people who are just out doing what they're called to do. Be it mental health, be it like spirituality, be it organizing, whatever it is, like we're out doing it right now. And I love seeing you do what you're doing, and everything, all the resources, everything that's coming your way, it is for you, right? So you take it and you use it like we all use our resources to just continue doing the work. So I'm excited and looking forward to
Thank you.
what you have to offer is you move through your eldership along with me.
Yes.
Yeah.
In our witchy robes.
I
and
know.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
so
thank
much
you.
for being just period who
Mhm.
you are. Even if you decided to hole up in your beautiful place and with all your herbs and not give a little inch more, you have given so many teachings, so much love, so much relationship, compassion, and awareness for many lifetimes over. So I thank you.
Thank
And
you.
I look up to you and I honor you. And I'm so grateful to be on this earth at the same time
And
as you are in this body and in this form.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. From Root to Bone is a podcast from Decolonizing Therapy. It is hosted by me, Dr. Jen Mullan. Our producer is Tribble at Ash Tribble Incorporated. Original music by Laura Burke and cover art by Madre Shell. Don't forget to find us on Instagram at Decolonizing Therapy and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Decolonizing Therapy, for the full video version of each episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your people and leave us a 5-star rating wherever you listen to podcasts. It helps people find us. For more info about Decolonizing Therapy, visit our website, www.decolonizingtherapy.com. Be well.